Tonight, we step quietly through the mists of a mountain temple, where the pines lean in close like old monks, and even the wind knows to whisper. The stones beneath your feet are damp with centuries of footsteps, smoothed by sandals and snow. A lantern sways gently on its beam, its paper belly glowing soft gold in the fading light. The scent of wood smoke and distant incense curls in the air, neither here nor gone, just being. You've had a long day, maybe not walking mountain paths, but your mind has been full, hasn't it? Full of tasks, of noise, of the weight we forget we're carrying. And here you are now, standing before a temple gate, under a sky so still it almost feels like it's waiting for you to hush too. Some say you couldn't last a day in a place this quiet. No phones, no plans, just tea, breath, and the sound of snow melting. And maybe they're right. Maybe that's exactly why you're here. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, tell me, where are you listening from tonight? What time is it where you are? It's always fascinating to know which corner of the world we're sharing this piece with. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You don't remember how you first heard of the temple, a friend maybe, or a book someone left open on a bench. But now you're here, standing at the old wooden gate, where a bell waits without hurrying you, and the sun slips behind a ridge as if pulling up a blanket. A small sign beside the path reads, "Enter without wanting, stay without staying." You tilt your head. The meaning doesn't come, but the gate creaks open anyway. The garden beyond is nothing special at first glance. Stone lanterns, some moss, a few stubborn chrysanthemums blooming out of season. A cat watches you from a roof beam, eyes half-lidded, tail twitching like it's hearing some private sutra. No one greets you, but you don't feel unwelcome. A monk passes in the distance, no older than you, maybe younger, but he walks like water over stones, not hurried, not still. He doesn't speak, but nods once as your eyes meet. Something in that nod is warmer than speech. You follow the path, not because you were told to, because it's there. You pass a line of sandals left neatly at the step of the zendo. A bell tower above leans slightly westward, like it's been eavesdropping on the sunsets too long. Everything is softened, corners, sounds, even your thoughts. You step around a bend and find a bench under a pine tree. You sit, because what else is there to do? And as the evening folds around the temple like a well-worn robe, you feel something shift. Not big, not dramatic, but like the settling of dust after a long breath. No one asks why you've come. No one tells you what comes next. And that's when you begin to notice it. The warmth. Not of the fire, but of the silence that doesn't demand anything of you. The kind of silence that listens back. Maybe you don't need to understand the sign at the gate. Maybe, just maybe, you've already entered. The night settles gently, like a hand brushing sleep over the shoulders of the world. You wake early, though no bell has rung. Something in the air, cool, quiet, clear, has invited you to rise. Outside your simple room, the stones are cold underfoot, and breath ghosts before your face in soft little clouds. You walk without thinking, drawn by instinct more than intent. The monastery is awake, but not loud. A rhythm hums beneath everything like the deep current of a river. You glimpse a monk kneeling at the koi pond, offering crumbs to the fish, though they do not eat this early. Another sweeps the path, broom scratching stone in a slow, practiced arc. Then you see him. He's walking towards you with nothing but the clothes on his back. His face, neither eager nor tired, Over his shoulder, a folded blanket, thin, worn, and patched in more places than you can count. A monk's blanket. He pauses before you, and though you expect some form of greeting, he simply holds the blanket out. It takes you a moment to realize he's offering it to you. You blink. You try to speak. Your lips form no, but no sound follows. The monk smiles, not kindly, not pityingly, just a quiet smile that says, "There is no need to explain." You take it. It's lighter than it looks, worn smooth at the edges, and still warm from his shoulder. Before you can thank him, he has already bowed once and continued down the path, his hands now free. You watch him go and think, he must have more blankets. But later, a younger novice tells you no, he didn't. That was his only one. He does this, the novice says, pouring you barley tea. When someone needs warmth, he gives his. It's his practice. You wrap the blanket around your shoulders, still confused. What practice is this? Shouldn't one prepare first? Meditate for years? Read the sutras? But here, a monk simply gives you his blanket and then walks away lighter. Some say this kind of giving is foolish. What if he gets sick? What if he suffers for it? Others say that is the teaching. You sit in the temple courtyard as the sky lifts from indigo to pearl. The blanket clings to your shoulders like a memory, and suddenly you feel warmer than you did before. Is it the fabric or the act? A bell rings once, not to call anyone, just to remind the mountain that people are still here. You sip your tea and think of the monk's face, the gentle way he let go, and it occurs to you, what if warmth isn't something you keep, but something you create in another? What if the truest generosity is not giving what's extra, but giving what you love? A breeze lifts the edge of the blanket. You hold it tighter, then looser. Somewhere nearby, someone is chanting. You don't recognize the words, but you recognize the silence between them. The blanket smells faintly of cedar. The sun has barely crested the hills when you find yourself once more beneath the old pine tree. The blanket still hugs your shoulders, though the air has begun to warm. You sit where you sat yesterday, back straight without meaning to, gaze soft without effort. Something about this place shapes you like water shapes stone without force, only time. The monk with no blanket passes again. His robe is thin, his steps are quiet. He nods to you once more, just as before. But today, it feels like a continuation, rather than a greeting. As if your shared silence has memory. You rise and follow. He does not invite you, but you're not trespassing either. Some paths don't require permission, only presence. He walks to the edge of the monastery grounds, where a row of cloaks hangs from a bamboo rail. He does not take one. Instead, he kneels in the dirt and begins clearing fallen leaves from the base of a plum tree, his hands bare to the chill. You hesitate, then kneel beside him. He does not look up, but your arrival is acknowledged by the way he slows just a little, then continues. No words are exchanged, leaves are gathered. The breeze hums gently through the pines above. After some time, your hands are numb. The monk stands and looks at you with a kind of amused stillness. "You are cold," he says. You nod. Then, he says, "You should not cling to that blanket." He gestures to your shoulders, and only then do you realize, though you are cold, the blanket is no longer wrapped tightly. It has slipped, draped more as memory than protection. You still wear it, he says, but you do not need it. And he walks away. You sit there, baffled. Of course you need it, don't you? The cold is still here. The wind still bites. What does he mean? You return to the main hall, thoughts knotting like threads in the loom of your mind. A senior nun sits near the steps, spinning prayer beads between her fingers. You ask her, "Why would he say I don't need it?" She smiles faintly. "Because warmth doesn't come from the cloth." She nods at your chest. It comes from not hiding. You touch the place over your heart and find it still, but no longer closed. Later, during chores, you remember a phrase once half heard in a book. When the hand is open, it holds everything. Maybe the blanket was never meant to be held tightly. Maybe the lesson was not about receiving, but releasing. That night, you sleep with the blanket folded at your side. You do not wrap yourself in it. You dream of the monk again, except this time, he wears a greatcoat made of starlight and breathes warmth into the frost with a single exhale. Some say that was the moment you understood what he meant. Others say understanding is just another blanket. The morning is damp, but not unpleasant. Mist clings to the stones like dew clings to grass, patient, quiet, inevitable. You walk alone through the garden, the blanket folded neatly in your arms. Not worn, not forgotten, simply carried. At the temple's outer wall, you pass a strange scene. A small gathering of monks sits before an empty teacup placed on a flat stone. Steam rises in delicate curls, but there is no kettle, no pouring, no host, just the cup and the silence. You watch. No one speaks. No one sips. After some time, the oldest among them leans forward and whispers, "Is this tea?" No one answers. One monk chuckles softly. Another frowns. A third bows to the cup as if it were a guest. And you, uncertain, remain still. Eventually, the gathering disperses without explanation. The cup is left untouched. You ask a novice nearby what just happened. He grins. The master's lesson for the week. Tea without a cup. You point out the contradiction. There was a cup. He shrugs. Was there? Later, during breakfast, you can't stop thinking about it. The cup, the steam, the silence. Was it a joke, a riddle, or something else entirely? You sip your barley porridge slowly. It tastes plain today, though your appetite is intact. And yet, something about that silent tea stirs your thoughts like wind stirring the surface of a pond. What does it mean to offer tea where none can drink? What does it mean to sit with a question that offers no answer? You return to the cup after the meal. It's still there, warm somehow, as if the sun or the question itself has kept it alive. You sit beside it, not waiting for meaning, just sitting. Eventually, you remember something the nun said. Warmth doesn't come from the cloth. Maybe clarity doesn't come from the answer. You close your eyes. The steam curls upward, then disappears. Some say this moment was the teaching. Others say there never was any tea. You smile softly, deeply, as the mist lifts, and somewhere behind you, a bell chimes once. Not to explain, just to say, you were here. By midday, the sun hangs behind a veil of cloud, soft light, with no sharpness, no shadows. You follow the stone path that winds behind the zendo, past the koi pond, toward the bamboo grove you've only seen from a distance. The wind is quiet today, but present. It moves the tall green stalks with a whisper so faint, it could be your breath echoing back to you. You reach a clearing where a bench sits under a weathered awning. A single wooden wind chime dangles from the beam. It does not move. A monk sits nearby, his eyes closed. His robes ripple slightly, though you feel no breeze. You sit across from him without a word. The silence between you is not empty, it's shared, like tea poured from the same pot. The monk opens one eye, then the other. and speaks a question without warning. Can the wind be taught silence? You wait, thinking it's the beginning of a riddle, but he says no more. You glance up at the bamboo. It sways gently, murmuring in its papery voice. You want to answer, but any response feels like trying to hold wind in your hands. You shake your head slightly. The monk smiles. It already knows. You blink. He continues. It's not the wind that forgets. It's us. We stir it with our minds, then blame it for the noise. He places a single dried leaf in your hand. You want stillness, he says, but you chase it like a leaf chasing wind. You sit with that. The leaf is curled and delicate, veins spidering out like rivers from its stem. It weighs nothing, but in your palm, it feels like a reminder to pause, to breathe, to let the noise pass through without building walls to keep it out. The wind chime finally sounds a single note, like a distant bell or a drop thought. You don't look up, you just breathe, listening. Some say the wind carried your answer away before you could hear it. Others say the chime was the answer. You stand, bow slightly, and leave the clearing lighter than before, the dried leaf still in your hand. Later, you will press it between the pages of your journal, not as a keepsake, but as a silence you can revisit. You walk slowly, the leaf still nestled between your fingers, when the scent of steamed rice calls you toward the back kitchen. A monk, sleeves rolled up, is spooning simple fare into clay bowls rice, pickled greens, a small square of tofu, and a smile that doesn't need to be returned to be felt. You carry your meal to a quiet corner of the garden, beneath the shadow of an ancient persimmon tree where another monk already sits. A stranger, but not unfamiliar. His head is bowed over his food in gratitude, and beside him lies a cracked rice bowl chipped at the rim, its glaze crazed with hairline fractures. You hesitate, glancing at your own bowl intact, smooth, unblemished. Sensing your gaze, the monk looks up, chuckling softly. You prefer your bowl unbroken? You say nothing, unsure whether he's teasing or teaching. He gestures to his own. This one was dropped in the river 30 years ago, he says, tapping the side. A novice found it half buried in silt. The master kept it anyway, said it had already learned how to let go. You don't quite follow. He shrugs. It holds rice. It holds emptiness. It has no problem with either. You stare at the crack. It seems to smile. Later, in the dish hut, you offer to help scrub the bowls. The chipped one is in your hands. It sings slightly under the water, as if remembering a river. You find yourself handling it more gently than the others, not because it is fragile, but because it is wise. After all, what has never been broken? Not your plans, not your heart, not your sense of certainty. And yet, you are here, still able to hold and be held. A novice comes by, whispering about a koan the master once posed. If your bowl breaks, will the rice forgive you? You don't ask for clarification. That's not how koans work. You dry your hands and leave the hut, the question echoing inside you like the soft clink of bowls being stacked in the quiet. Some say the crack is what made the bowl beautiful. Others say it was beautiful before, but you just weren't paying attention. The sky darkens earlier than expected. A hush falls over the temple grounds as though the mountain itself has decided it's time to rest. The air is thick with the scent of pine needles and evening rice. You walk alone, the now familiar weight of the blanket folded over your arm like a final sentence not yet spoken. Something draws you upward past the sleeping quarters, beyond the vegetable terraces until you reach the edge of the cliff where the wind has more space to wander. A lone cedar stands watch, tall and weathered, its branches like fingers holding up the stars. You settle beneath it. The blanket, your companion through silence and questions, is laid across your lap, not as protection, but as memory. You breathe deeply. The air is clean and wide, like a bell unstruck. And then you see it above, where the sky opens like a scroll, a wisp of cloud unfurls and vanishes. For a brief moment, it resembles the shape of a folded blanket. You laugh softly. Maybe everything is a teaching here. Maybe nothing is. A footstep behind you. You turn to see the blanketless monk, holding a stick of unlit incense. He kneels beside you without greeting. No need for words. He places the incense on a flat stone between you, then strikes a match. It flares, then dims, and the incense glows. Smoke rises. The scent is cedar and faint citrus, almost like memory itself has a smell. He speaks. Blankets warm the body, but the sky warms the soul. You nod, though you do not quite understand. The smoke curls upward, dances once, and then dissolves into nothing. What happened to the blanket I gave you? He asks softly. You look down at your lap. It's here. He closes his eyes. Good. Then you can give it back. You hesitate, not because you need it, but because you don't, and somehow, that makes it harder. Still, you fold it neatly. You offer it with both hands. He accepts it like one would accept a bowl of water, careful and complete. He rises and walks away, once again carrying the blanket, once again leaving you a little lighter. You don't feel cold. The air is still. Some say the sky stretched wider when you let it go. Others say it was always this wide, you simply weren't empty enough to notice. You remain seated beneath the cedar tree long after the monk disappears into shadow. The stars shimmer faintly above, distant and unbothered. The incense has burned down to ash, but its scent lingers, woven into your breath like old stories. The wind returns, not sharp, not cold, just enough to remind you that you are small and here and alive. You descend the path slowly, the kind of slow that has nothing to do with tired legs and everything to do with reverence. Each step feels measured, like placing pebbles on a still lake. You pass through the garden where the cracked rice bowl once sat, now cleaned and stacked with others. You pass the tea stone, now moonlit and empty, though something in the air still tastes like steam. Eventually, your feet carry you to the bell tower. It stands alone near the edge of the compound, tall and skeletal, its wooden ribs open to the night. The bell itself hangs suspended, thick with age and silence. You hesitate at the bottom of the ladder. A worn sign reads, "Ring only when ready to vanish." You climb anyway. At the top, a platform barely wide enough for a cushion greets you. There is no cushion, just the bell and a rope like a coil question. You don't ring it, you sit. The air is cool, but your body holds warmth. Not from the blanket, it is gone. Not from exertion you have not rushed, but from some deep well you hadn't noticed before. The bell hums, not in sound, but in potential, as if the silence around it wants to be broken, but agrees not to be. You close your eyes, and the bell begins to ring, not outside, but within. It's not a tone. It's not a memory. It's the echo of every question you've carried, every letting go you've practiced, every smile that passed like sunlight on stone. You breathe with it. You are it. Some say a bell only sounds when struck. Others say the true bell rings in silence. Later, you climb down without waking the world. No one saw you. No one needed to. You walk through moonlight like a shadow with a purpose. That night, in the quiet of your bedroll, you hear the bell again, soft, steady, internal. You don't know if it's still ringing. You don't know if it ever stopped. The next morning begins not with sunlight, but with snow. Soft, delicate flakes drift down like falling petals, gathering on rooftops and in the crooks of old trees. The world has gone quiet in a new way, sound cushioned, color softened. The temple wears a blanket now, not woven from wool, but from cloud and silence. You wake slowly, not because you're tired, but because there's no urgency here. No bell calls you, no schedule waits, just snow and the slow unfolding of breath. Outside, the woodpile glistens beneath a layer of white. You approach it, mindful of each step. Snow crunches, then hushes. Your hands reach for the logs instinctively, and you begin to stack them anew, wet bark cold against your skin. An old monk joins you, a long scarf looped around his neck like an afterthought. His hands are calloused, his sleeves rolled. Together, you build a tower of warmth to come. Strange, isn't it? He murmurs. How snow rests on firewood. You look at him. Shouldn't it melt? He chuckles. Only when the fire begins. The logs stay dry beneath their blanket of frost. You realize the snow does not fear the fire. It simply waits, content in the stillness before change. Later, by the kitchen hearth, the fire crackles and the tea boils. You hold a cup between your palms and remember the snow. Its quiet bravery, its soft defiance. You sip and wonder, how often have you been like the snow, covering what will soon burn, resting where something waits to rise? How often have you feared becoming water? The nun with the prayer beads enters, carrying a basket of persimmons. She offers you one. Eat slowly, she says. The seed inside remembers both the tree and the fire. You nod, you bite. The fruit is cool, but the flavor opens like embers waking. Some say the snow on the woodpile was only an image. Others say it was a mirror, and you begin to wonder if snow can sleep on firewood. What else can live where opposites meet? Your final morning in the temple begins like any other soft light filtering through rice paper screens. A faint gong from some far corner of the grounds, and the smell of steamed rice drifting like memory through the hallways. You rise without hurry. No one tells you it is your last day, but your body knows. It has learned to listen differently here, not for instructions, but for silence, shifting in meaning. You dress, you walk, you carry nothing but breath. Outside, the snow has mostly melted. The ground is damp, but springing back, like the earth has exhaled. You step lightly, as though not to disturb the dream this place has lent you. The gate you once entered now waits ahead. But before you reach it, you pause. The blanket is no longer yours. The cracked bowl sits with the others, indistinguishable. The teacup is gone. Even the leaf you once carried is nowhere to be found. But your footprints remain. Not the ones in the snow that's long gone, the other ones. The ones you leave behind in the minds of those who watched you sweep the path, bow before the bell, laugh at the wind chime, offer your warmth without being asked. You pass a novice scrubbing steps. He glances up and smiles. You nod in return, a silent bow. The blanketless monk stands by the gate, arms tucked into his sleeves, waiting not for you, but simply because that's where he stands when the wind is just right. You approach. He does not speak, neither do you. He watches as you place your sandals on the stone, then step through the gate. You look back once. He doesn't wave, but he does tilt his head, ever so slightly, and it says everything. You came here carrying questions. You leave here carrying not answers but space. the space to breathe, the space to give, the space to be folded and refolded like the blanket, until you are no longer a possession but a presence. Some say you'll forget all this by tomorrow. Others say you have already become the story. And now, as the last candle flickers and the night thickens around your body like warm silk, let it all dissolve. The monks, the tea, the bell, the snow. Let the blanket slip quietly from your thoughts like a petal on still water. There is no need to hold anything. Breathe in, slowly. Let your chest rise like a mountain cresting the clouds. Breathe out, softly. Let your body melt like snow meeting the warmth of spring bark. You are no longer walking temple paths. You are the path. You are no longer watching the incense curl. You are the smoke, drifting upward into stillness. You are no longer waiting for the bell to ring. The bell is inside you, gently vibrating in the vast hush of now. The leaf you carried, the cracked bowl, the monk's quiet smile, they were never meant to stay. They were mirrors, small reflections of something you've always had. Peace that does not demand silence. Kindness that gives, not because it must, but because it already has enough. Stillness, not as a destination, but as your nature. So rest now, in that stillness, like a stone beside a stream, like a star no longer needing to shine, like the breath you just took, and the one you're about to. You did not come here to become someone else. You came here to remember who you already are. No more stories for tonight. No more questions to cradle. Only this. You are warm. You are held. And you are gently, quietly enough. Sleep well, kind traveler.